Hey, everybody, welcome to Love and Relo, the voice of the relocation industry. I am your host, Ben Cross, and I am so blessed and honored to be here with my friends, Jodi Harris from Johnson Controls, and my co-host today, Matt Tobel from Huntington Bay. What's up, Matt and Jodi? How's it going?
Hello.
Hello, going well.
Isn't this fun? Everybody's looking so festive. It's Pride Week. We're
exactly.
talking about parenting LGBTQ kids. This is so cool. Matt, this is such a great idea. And you're here co-hosting. So I get to sit back, chill, and watch a pro do it today.
Yeah, and I'm going to try to make sure that these don't fall out of my ears. I don't know how to get used to it.
Matt's going to do the whole show like this. Is that cool with everybody?
I need a little bit of grace. I'm no Ben Cross, but we're gonna get through this.
I got a big mouth and big ears. Hey, if you're watching right now, go ahead and check in, get in the comments. We're going to be taking your questions, your comments, put some love in there, send a little heart out, maybe that little virtual hand clap or something. Do it really loud so Matt can hear you with his little earbuds. We got Janaína checking in. So happy to see this. Janaína in Rio, Brazil in the house. Let us know where you're at. Where in the world are both of you? Jodi, where are you at right now?
I am in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So it's finally Valerie. Hi. I am finally enjoying some warm weather. Admittedly, long-awaited warm weather. So it's been gorgeous these past couple of weeks. So we're enjoying it.
Yeah, I was up in Milwaukee a couple of weeks ago, and I saw last night the Deer District was rocking downtown. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So speaking of the Deer District, little plug here for the Wisconsin ERC. We are doing a walking tour later this month. So if anybody is going to be in the Milwaukee area, if you'd like to check out the city, it's Milwaukee's really like the more laid back, relaxed, slightly tipsy cousin of Chicago. So if you are interested, if you're going to be in the Milwaukee area or in the Chicago area, it's quick, 90-minute drive from Chicago. Come on to Wisconsin ERC, join us for a walking tour of the area. And we'll be meeting at the Deer District in the Fiserv Forum and walking around some of the really cool kind of downtown area and enjoying it, seeing all the pride flags floating around Milwaukee, which is fantastic for the Pride Month that's going on. So come on and join us.
What a plug for the Relocation Council, the tipsy cousin of Chicago. I think you said. I love that. We might put that on
we drink a little bit more than Chicago does.
Well, I'm really excited. It's the first in-person event that we're having too. And yesterday, speaking of in-person events, the CRC had theirs at the Botanic Gardens. It was awesome to see some familiar faces. And I'm just excited that people are starting to get out and about again, especially with the warm weather. Chicago is open as of this weekend.
I saw that. Yes, super excited to visit again.
Right? Yeah, just texting all of those friends in the city, and you need to come on down. Like we were talking about, the Marvel exhibit was amazing. I went yesterday, and I know your family is fellow nerds, so we're in good company. And I know Paul Seymour is clapping right now in his home office because he's probably stoked about it too.
Yep, absolutely.
Love it.
This is awesome. Keep those comments and questions coming. I am going to be reading comments, and Matt is going to be leading the questions today. Beth McSkimming's checking in. We're going to get through these real quick. Janet Turner.
I need to order more tea.
There you go. Janet, what's the tea today? Janet, I didn't see the Friday tea. Throw a link in there. Tim Quirk, Western New York's in the house. All these down to learn about parenting. This is great. Matt and Jodi from Elizabeth Penfold.
Beth.
Good to see you. Sharon, happy Friday from Houston.
Friday.
Yeah, we got everybody in the house here. Sunny South Florida's in the house. Everybody's wanting to go to Milwaukee. Jodi's selling Milwaukee. Stephen Meyer, household goods driver. Be safe out there, Stephen.
Cool. Laura, hi.
Yeah, all the friends are here.
Yep, SRRC. I will say that. I was a part of the board when I lived down in Florida. I was part of the board of SRRC. I think, if anyone in the relo industry has an opportunity to connect with some of the regional councils, it's a great opportunity to network. It's a great opportunity to meet people within the industry, bounce ideas off of, and just in general, kind of kick back. And I think we should all in the relo industry get together and write a book about all the crap we've seen.
Yeah, that will be a crazy
retire,
book.
there should be a big book that you can add to, like, here is the craziness that has gone on in the mobility industry.
It's going to be a long one. That's going to be
Yeah.
like a trilogy, right?
It will continue. It will keep going. We will always have more stories to tell.
And Netflix will pick it up, man. It will make millions. So
I'm gonna keep these comments rolling, but I'm gonna let y'all just kind of hop into it. Matt, our host, take it away.
All right. Well, Jodi, thank you so much for joining us today. I thought of you immediately when we started getting on the subject of just like Pride Week and things like that, because I mean, you've always been such like a welcoming and inviting person. I mean, I was so like warmly introduced to you, and I got to become friends with you so quickly that I even felt okay to fall asleep in the back of a car traveling from Milwaukee to Chicago back from one of the regional things. So, I mean, she's a very comforting person. Like, I fell asleep in the back of Jen Breen's car. So that did happen. And
we didn't record you snoring or anything. Yeah.
You have an aura around you that puts people at ease. I will not fall asleep on this because I'm probably sweating through my back and nervous, but I just love you. And I thought immediately of some of the stuff that you had shared with me about your son's coming out. And I wanted to know if you would share that story with us on Love and Relo.
Yeah. So again, my son is 26 now. So he came out when he was 15 years old. So this was a few years ago, just a bit. And we used to have, there was kind of a standing joke in our family. We used to have car conversations, and it was when mom would talk about sex to their child. And we called it car conversations because we would have him in the car for two reasons. One, he didn't have to look me in the face. And two, he couldn't escape. He was seatbelted in, and we were usually in motion. So that was kind of the fantastic thing. So what happened is he came up to me, and this was not in the car. So, we usually kept the serious conversations for the car. And he came up to me, he goes, "Mom, we need to have a serious conversation." And I was taken aback. I was like, "Okay, what would you like to discuss?" And he just said, "Pretty sure I'm gay." And I was like, "Okay, give me 1 second. Yes, no teenage pregnancy." And that was like my, and he looks at me, he goes, "Really? That's your reaction?" I was like, "What?" It was a real thing. It was a real concern. I had him when I was 20. I was pregnant by the time I was 19. Teenage pregnancy is a huge thing, and I just did not want him to follow in my footsteps. So that was my first honest reaction. And he said, "So this doesn't surprise you?" And I said, I did say I knew, and I want to mention that because sometimes it's a little challenging, and I'm always learning. I've made plenty of mistakes as a parent, throwing that out there. Not perfect. Thoroughly admit to my kids, I'm not perfect, but I'm always learning, and sometimes they have to educate me. So I did tell him I knew from the time he was little. I knew. Did I know he was for a fact gay? Not necessarily. I knew he went to the beat of his own drummer, if you will. I knew that sexuality would probably be slightly fluid with him. And I think it is for a lot of people. He's slowly changed and really, I think he identifies more as gay, but he's kind of probably a little on the more bisexual tendencies, simply because he looks at the person. One of the things I've always admired about him is that he looks at the people as human beings. And he's attracted to their personality and their emotion. And it's less about kind of what their gender is and more about the human being and more about who they are as a person. And are they kind and are they generous? Just like him. I admire him so much. He's has his asshole-ish tendencies because I think, he's a 26-year-old guy. But
Right.
he's in general over just warm and kind and generous. And he will, if you are his friend, he will defend you to his dying breath and he will give you the shirt off his back. It's just the kind of person he is. So I've always loved that about him.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for all of that. With the relationship with his other parent, can you share more on that?
Brittany, hi. Just seeing the comments. I just want to say hello to everybody. Bill was posting comments as well. But yeah, so I divorced his father when he was about 2 years old. So I was a single parent for a very long time. And I met my current husband, his current father, who when he was about 6 years old. And we married when he was about 8, and my husband has been his dad. However, he's always still had his real father in his life. So one of the things was that his real father was very, very homophobic. I mean, outright stating things. And I was kind of preparing him for a long time with little comments like, well, what would you do if our son was gay? I mean, in the end, we don't know. We can't make those choices for him, things like that. And he would go off on a rant, going, my son will never be gay, and all of these types of things. So Vincent came out to me when he was 15, but he was going to wait until he was 18 to come out to his father because his father was slowly getting better. But it was a work in progress. And then his father had a unknown heart condition and he passed away about 3 months before he turned 18. So he had to deal with not only the death of his father, but also the fact that he was never going to be his authentic self with his dad. And that has emotionally, really, really hurt him. So I've just tried to, my husband, his father, he calls him dad, has always been very accepting of him and was there and supportive. And he's known since he was 15. So he came out to both, my husband and I at 15, but so he's always had that support, but it was very traumatic for him to not be who he was with his real dad. So that really, gave him it was a very difficult time, and I'm going to really try not to get emotional on this. So I'm going to warn you about that. Yeah, so that was kind of real challenging for him. He continues to deal with that. And I think one of the things that I made the mistake of when he was younger, this was a different time. So it was lots of work has been done to get people more aware of, sexuality and gender and things of that nature. But this was the early 2000s when he came out. When he came out, it still wasn't legal for him to get married. And it wasn't until 2015 that it was legal for him to get married. And I actually told my youngest son that because he's always known about his brother. And it took him aback. He's like, what do you mean it wasn't legal for him to get married until recently? He had no idea, because he's always known his brother has been gay. He's always known that who he is as a person. Vincent has always been able to be authentic with us as his family. But, and he's met his boyfriends and things like that, and liked some of them. So it's, it just surprised him that it wasn't legal for him to get married until as late as 2015. It just kind of blew him away. So there's been a lot of strides in making sure that there's, clarity and more openness and more accepting language and things like that, more awareness. And so that has been fantastic. But I made the mistake of trying to protect him a little bit too much as a young person. And I asked him not to tell his grandfather, his great-grandfather, my grandfather. We're a long-lived bunch on my side of the family. My grandfather passed away about 2 years ago, and 3 years ago. And so he was old school, and he didn't really kind of fully comprehend stuff. So my family would always still ask those questions. Hey, you got a girlfriend yet? And Vincent's like, no. And it was, he just he couldn't feel like he could be his authentic self with some of my family members. And that was my fault. Like, one of the things I've learned as a parent is to try to take more lead from your kids, because they know, and they may want to be out, and they may not, and they may not want to be out. And that really has to be up to them. Even if they're children, they need to help control the conversation around, their gender identity and their sexuality. And it's not up to us as parents to decide that for them. It used to be very much you do what I say, not what I do, parenting style in my family. Yeah. Warped me a lot. But
I want to interject on that point, Jodi, if I can. We've got a comment here from the audience here, and I just wanted to read it because I think it's just right on point with kind of what we're talking about here, and I'd love to just kind of get both of your reactions, if you don't mind. Christina says, my dad, there's a long comment here, so hang on, this little story. My dad is very homophobic. Last week, my 18-month-old son and I went to the store, and he wanted this pink and white sparkly unicorn. My dad lost it. I bought the unicorn and gave the unicorn to my son, and my dad did not understand how I could be, quote, okay with that. I'm okay with whatever my son is. The world is cruel enough, and I cannot imagine being anything other than his biggest fan and his biggest supporter. I've told him from day one, I don't care what you are, you're always mine, and I'm going to guess will always love you.
If you have to say, I love you, but, my grandfather, shockingly enough, the one we never told, always had a saying, and he said, anything before the but is bullshit. And pardon my language, but it's very honest and authentic time. So I curse every once in a while, sometimes more than every once in a while. So I'm just, pardon my language, but anyway, everything before the but is pointless. So if you have to say, I love you, but this, then you don't really love someone unconditionally. And that's what being a parent is. You should not put conditions on your children. Yes, we want what's best for them. We want to protect them. We want them to be successful, preferably to take care of us when we're older, but we can't put that on them. They have to figure out their own lives. They have to figure out who they are. And I think that's something that we've continued to learn. My father is still challenging with, understanding Vincent's out in front of him. But my father, one of the first things he said when we told him was, isn't this just a phase? And I was like, pretty sure it's not. This is not something you choose. Who chooses, especially at a time in their life when they're already trying to figure out who they are, and who chooses to make their life more difficult for themselves?
Right.
I mean, it's not quote unquote, and I hate to use the word, but everybody does. It's not quote normal, so people will challenge you, and you have to work to get acceptance. Even now, people in the community still have to work to get acceptance from their family members, from their coworkers, and it's an ongoing challenge. And, so if you have to say to someone in your family, I love you, but I wish you weren't gay, then really it's just, I wish you weren't gay. I'd love you if you weren't gay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't pick up that.
Or, you know, whatever.
Yeah, I didn't pick up necessarily that aspect of it from Christina's comment, but I did want to kind of ask this question just a little bit about a concept that we heard earlier in the week about heteronormativity.
Yes.
Right? Which is that hetero is normal, therefore anything else is other and not normal to use normativity, right?
Yeah.
And kind of what I think Christina's talking about here is her dad is, kind of reinforcing these gender archetypes, I guess, even at like this.
Boys play with cars, girls play with dolls.
As a baby, right?
I have a story about that I really want to share. I think that's a beautiful story that she put in the comments, and I love that she advocated for her child for what she thinks, because I think that there's a lot of things that can get pushed down generationally. And in coming out myself, like, my parents didn't know what they didn't know, and like, it was a different time, and they've grown to learn so much, and like that, a lot of that is me showing up, and a lot of that is me teaching them and showing them what a gay man is and who my friends are and the lifestyle that they may not be so in the know about. And my dad, like, growing up, like, he owns a construction company. Like, I got construction, like, trucks, like Tonka trucks, like all of those things. But my sister has a son, and when we went to Disney World, his grandpa bought him an Elsa Frozen dress. And like, my nephew was like, I want this more than anything. First of all, I was like, that thing's like $80. Like, it's too expensive.
Look at the dress, the cost.
my dad like bought it for him, and like, that was so heartwarming to me that I'm like, that is change. Like, that's something that is just like only time could have done that, and like only like seeing the way that he's grown and like his mind has opened, it was just something that was like one of those things that I'm like, I don't need to say anything, but like, wow, that's like really powerful. And I'm just so proud of him, and like proud of like my family for going along for the ride, because like Jodi said, like, I mean, it's not always like the like great stories that you hear that are like that. They're not all heartwarming, but there were so many lessons that were learned, and for something good to come of it like that, it made me really proud, and it made me like feel really good about the situation. So I hope that helps kind of with that comment.
Yeah. And I had to face a lot of that as well, with my son, defending him. My ex and his father would always buy him trucks. My dad's a dairy farmer. He always had some kind of tractor, and then, but he loved stuffed animals, and he liked, big sparkly stuffed animals. And so I would buy him these, and my ex would say or make snide comments, and I'd be like, let him play with what he wants. Who cares? It's not, it's not going to change who he is. And I think that we as parents have made a lot of strides, but it is about learning. It is about not, making assumptions from the beginning. And parenting advice nowadays, I'm on a couple of parenting Facebook groups for the local area. Parenting nowadays is a whole different scenario, and there's a lot more willingness to remove that heteronormativity from the language that we use with our kids. And for instance, like, because I knew I had inklings of that he was a little bit more fluid on his potential sexuality, and again, he was still a teenager, so he was still figuring things out. I started changing my language a little bit. And it was just simple things. Like, I wouldn't say, hey, are you interested in a girl? I'd say, hey, are you interested in anyone? Or I'd say, something about his friends would come over or something like that. And it was more along the lines of, ooh, some of them are cute, And it was like a group of girls and guys. So it was like, leaving it open-ended and more keeping the language neutral, and making sure that he knew that, thank you, Katie. But making sure that he knew that whatever he chose, I would be fine with it.
Yeah.
Well, that leads. Oh,
question. When you said some of them are cute, when like you had a mixed group of friends over, and you said some of them are cute, did he ever bite on that? And we're like, yeah, some of them are. Was a mom. Stop.
13, 14, 15-year-old boys, they're more like, Mom.
But then you like lock them in the car. You're like, no.
Yeah, it doesn't matter sexuality. That kind of behavior is standard.
Well, I feel like that leads to a next great part. Would you mind sharing some of the fears and joys as a parent of someone in the LGBTQ community?
Yeah. So, again, at the time when he came out, it still wasn't legal to get married. Shockingly enough, some of the great parenting tips I've learned was watching Queer as Folk on HBO, because this was like the early 2000s. That was one of my favorite shows. It was where I learned about PFLAG. It was where I learned about, organizations that could potentially help me as a parent learn, and where I could find people I could talk to about, these types of challenges. I was always concerned about his safety. I was always concerned about, safe sex practices and making sure he didn't go out there and do dangerous things. There has been a lot of historical violence against people, of different genders and sexualities. And that was probably one of the biggest fears for me, was like, he's my baby. I don't care that he's a boy or a girl or whatever. I didn't want him hurt. And whether physically or emotionally, I did not want him hurt. And that was kind of one of the big things about it, was just a huge fear. I didn't want him to have to face not being accepted for who he was. And I knew that he would face not being accepted for who he was from family members, from his father, and those are emotionally traumatic situations. They're really challenging situations. I mean, I was struggling not being accepted for who I am, and I'm freaking straight, but my dad doesn't seem to understand me as a human being. He looks at me, he's like, you're just weird, that I love you, but you're just this geeky Democrat. How in the world did I have a geeky Democrat?
Oh my God, I love that.
So, I knew I was struggling just to kind of be accepted within my family myself. I was like, how in the world am I going to throw a gay son out there? And worse, what if his friends find out and they not just don't like him, but wait for him after school? Mm-hmm. And or what if he's walking around and he's wearing one of his t-shirts, because he jokes that he flies, right? Yeah. He jokes that he flies in stealth mode. So what he does is he tends to wear t-shirts, because when you come up to him, he doesn't have like mannerisms that kind of make people automatically, I wonder, he's very soft-spoken. He's also a huge geek, and he wears t-shirts all the time, funny t-shirts. And so he wears t-shirts that'll say straight out of the closet instead of straight out of Compton, and he wears one of his favorites I love. It has this calendar and it says the gay agenda, and it's got on it, Monday through Sunday, and Monday is Be Gay, Tuesday is Taco Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday are Be Gay, Friday and Saturday are Super Gay, and Sunday is Brunch Gay. Just hilarious t-shirts that kind of like advertise. So he's always done that. He's always loved funny t-shirts and funny sayings on t-shirts. So he would wear these shirts to school, and sometimes I would worry I would get a call from the school, because not necessarily all schools are all that great at being accepting either. So that was always, you know, my fears for him were always about being accepted, about being, you know, safe, about finding someone. It's not necessarily easy. Especially for people who are not really out there. I have a shy child. I know it sounds so strange, but I have actually 2 shy children. I don't know whether it was like, you know, mom's completely out there, so I'm going to be the absolute opposite or what. Mm-hmm. But I have 2 boys who struggle to kind of get themselves out there and share their themselves and meet people. And so I would always, those are always my fears about his safety, about him finding someone to love and be able to get married. And I did tell him, I said, I don't care whether, you know, I don't care what color they are. I don't care where you get them from. I am going to be a grandmother, you know, so someone's going to have to give me grandchildren.
Now you sound like my mom.
Right? Yeah, it's like, I adopt. I don't care, you know, but I still expect grandchildren. Even if
well, it was a great session that we had earlier in the week, Ben, you with Paul and everyone. I mean, the parenting session was so great.
I love that. I love that. Paul's shirt was also absolutely awesome because it was not just rainbow; it was Star Wars rainbow.
Right.
I also love how gay people don't get out of the pressure to have kids.
No, they don't. No.
You still get the pressure. Is that a fair? But all kidding aside, I mean, it's funny, but it's like all kidding aside. Is that a fair? I mean, I don't know. Is that a fair expectation? I mean, Matt. I mean, what are your thoughts? Do you feel like that pressure is like? I mean, because listen, I get the pressure. I mean, you know, I was just having this conversation with my sister-in-law's boyfriend last night. Right? I was like, listen, you know, right now you're going to be asked about when you're proposing. Then you're going to be asked about when you're getting married. Then you're going to be asked about when you're having kids. I mean, you know, and it's like the cycle, right? And
I think everybody does. Yeah.
Everybody does. But I mean, I wonder just, you know, because we talk about heteronormativity. I mean, is that a version of that? I mean, do you feel that's fair pressure, Matt?
I think that it actually is something that people are becoming more and more comfortable with asking those questions. I think that in the past, like, there just wasn't that paved path for expecting the responses that people are willing to give, whether they're transgender, whether they're gay, whether they're lesbian, like whatever part of the community that they are. I think that like putting that out there, like for me, being a dad is just like I would love to experience that. There's just a lot of different ways that could happen, like we talked about earlier in the week. And I don't necessarily know that my dad would be like, well, when are you and Justin going to get married? Or like, well, when are you and Justin going to get engaged? Because like, he doesn't know that path for me. And like, I'm just there trying to have that conversation, trying to move it forward so that like people can see that. And like I'm just living my life. My dad is just living his life. And like, while people do that, people see that experience happen and people become more and more comfortable with it. And I feel so lucky to be like, there are so many members of the LGBTQ community that have done so much of that work before me. Like, and that is just something that right now there's still such a fight for everything, but that is becoming more easily accepted, even from when I was in high school compared to now. Like, I mean, like the way that work and like a lot of these like diversity and equity programs are, like, I don't feel like it was the way that it was 10 years ago when I was like coming into the workforce, where I felt like I might need to hide something. So I hope that answered your question, but I think that it's just more of a conversation that's changing because of the strides that have been made.
I think that was an appropriately vague answer to a topic. Because I mean, listen, this question always gets vague answers. Frankly, when are you gonna have kids? It always gets
well, like I also might be being
a lot
vague
of work
because
to be done in the world first. And I don't know. Like,
I'm working from home, and my partner is only a wall away, and he really wants kids. So I'm giving you a vague answer.
Justin, where are you at, Justin? Justin.
No, it's great, but it's true. I mean, there are, like I said, the world has changed significantly in the last 20 years, and the opportunities for, you know, Bill, I'm going to agree with you there. I'm going to make a comment about that. It's not fair to actually, I've learned a lot more about, in particular, people who choose not to have children. It's an ongoing pressure. You know, I have a fantastic brother and sister-in-law, and they are the most awesome aunt and uncle. They absolutely love both my boys. And they don't have kids, and she struggles, I think, as a woman, just because everybody's constantly asking her, you know, why don't you have kids? When are you going to have kids? You know, it's like a woman's job. So I completely agree. I've learned a lot, and I continue to learn. So I'm not pressuring him anymore to have kids, but it was kind of a standing joke when he was younger, and as he you know, when he came out, was like, as much as I love you, being gay doesn't get you out of, you know, me wanting grandchildren. So, and I also wanted to emphasize that that was a choice for him. And if he did want to be a parent, if that was something that he wanted to be a parent, I would be, you know, I am not the perfect mom, but I will be an awesome grandmother.
Yeah.
I will feed them sugar and give them back.
Well, I think moms and dads to some degree have earned the right to be a little selfish sometimes when it comes to things like that. And, you know, it's just, you know, it's like, yeah. Anyway, I wasn't trying to call anybody out. I was just like having fun with the whole topic. And anyway, yeah. Sorry. I'm going to go back here to being in the background and looking at these comments that are great. Keep commenting over here, and we're going to keep playing them. Thanks.
Jodi, off of the last segue that we kind of took, how would you coach someone new learning more about the LGBTQ community, and how do you focus on like keeping your learning going and continuing that?
And that's a fantastic question. So, you know, from the standpoint of where are you in relation to having or knowing or being around, you know, people in the community. So, one of the things that I think was really interesting about some of the diversity and inclusion conversations that I've seen lately is that it's not the job of the person in that community or of the person of color, for example, or something like that. It's not their job to educate you. But you can, and I saw this in some of the earlier sessions, Ben, that you guys have done this week, was people were saying that if you come to them with an open, you know, curiosity and an honest curiosity, and not just like, oh, you know, well, how does that work? You know, but really honestly wanting to understand people within the community and people of color and things like that are often willing and able to answer questions, but it's not their job. So, you know, I would also emphasize that you can continue to learn by engaging in different groups. And I'll talk about, you know, there's three kind of companies or groups that I really use and rely on. One is PFLAG. That's one of the oldest groups. And over time, it was originally Parents Flag, but it was established like in 1973 of all times, and it's an older organization. Over time, it's changed to Parents and Friends of Lesbians and Gays, and they've added the LGBTQIA, you know, terminology. But it's really a resource for parents and friends. It's really a resource for people who know someone within the community, want to learn more, maybe without, you know, feeling stupid and asking a stupid question. Mm-hmm. You can talk to, it's a great place. You can talk to other parents. You can talk to other, you know, people who are allies of people within the community and learn more. They've got a lot of information on their website. They've got a lot of places where you can go and join a local chapter and, you know, join the group at different Pride events or different events overall, and really help learn from people within the community, other allies. join your local diversity group at your office. So one of the great things about my current company is that they have all these business resource groups, or, sometimes they're called employee resource councils or employee resource groups, whatever. I'm a member of the JC4E, which is Johnson Controls for Everyone, which is the resource group that is focused around, the LGBTQ community. And I'm learning from them. I'm learning from them every day. And I think that that's great. I'm learning from coworkers. One of the things that I found out is I have a coworker with a transgender child. And I learn from my coworker a lot about what they have done as a parent of a transgender child. And in particular, I'm getting better about the pronouns. I'm not perfect, but the pronouns are important and the labels are important. And I've kind of over time had to learn about the labels. Google it. If you want to learn about the labels, Google it. There's lots of great resources out there on, learning more about the community. HRC.org is the Human Rights Campaign. And the Human Rights Campaign is more of the legislative body. They do a lot of lobbying and a lot of work with faith communities to continue to educate people on the LGBT community, on what it means to be gay, to be lesbian, to be transgender, on what sexuality is, on what gender is. And they do a lot of work within the various different communities. You can just donate if that's all you can do. You can volunteer to be part of a phone bank. You can volunteer on the political side to maybe do walking campaigns and educate people and support candidates for different offices that are supportive of the LGBT community. So there's lots of opportunities. There's great program, the Trevor Project, which I thought was fantastic. I support this one. It actually came from a movie. The film's on YouTube, if anybody's interested. It's only 20 minutes. It's a short film, and it's called Trevor. And it's about a child who tried to commit suicide because they were gay and they didn't feel comfortable. And the Trevor Project is really around suicide and mental health for LGBTQ youth. And for that, I'm very passionate about, because my son has also suffered from depression, and that doesn't necessarily, he's not suffering from depression because of his sexuality. He suffers from depression. Sexuality is a separate part of it. It's him as a total human being. So I've often wanted to make sure that he had enough mental health resources to support him as he gets a little, better about dealing with his mental health and taking care of his mental health. So that's very important to me. And they have a lot of resources. And if you are, emotionally strong enough, they need volunteers for their suicide hotline. And, we have to realize that right now, the information is out there that 40% of the homeless youth are LGBTQ and transgender. They are homeless because they didn't have acceptance in their home environment, and they had to leave in order to find that acceptance. And now they're homeless, and this is a real struggle for people when it comes to their mental health. Yeah. So the Trevor Project is a fantastic group as well. So continue to learn. You're not going to be perfect. You have to continue to evolve as a human being.
Definitely. Chasten Buttigieg, or I'm like probably
Chastain, yes.
I mean, Chasten B. He was actually just on CNN, kind of talking about the homelessness and exactly what you were just describing. So, I mean, it's a huge issue right now. And I was actually looking at the Trevor Project online too, and some of the statistics were just so crazy. Like 1.8 million LGBTQ youth, 13 to 24, seriously consider suicide each year. 1.8 million. It's just, there's so many that, I mean, there's
a strong prevalence.
Yeah. And it's these conversations that completely change that. And you never know how small of a conversation it takes to just open someone's mind.
Yeah. You know, I joke with people. I hug people all the time, but I'm not really a hugger. It's not like automatic for me. I don't reach out to hug people, you know, unless I'm more comfortable with them. Like, I hug you, you know.
Yes.
You know, but I joke that I'm not a hugger, but at Pride events, I will wear mom hugs for free, you know, t-shirt. Like, if your parents haven't accepted you, come on over. I'll give you a hug. I'll be, you know, I might not be your mom, but I'll be your aggressive cousin that'll argue for you. You know?
Milwaukee full of tipsy cousins.
Yes, exactly.
Oh my goodness. No, well, thank you for sharing some of those organizations. They're great. And I mean, there's so many ways that you can get involved. For Chicago, I became involved in these are still falling out. So I'm so sorry if you guys see me being like, whoa. I'm like trying to do like these, like, oh yeah, Jodi, like tell me more. But I became involved with the Chicago Chamber of Commerce for LGBTQ community. And I mean, you can get involved with realtors. You can get involved with like housing companies. Like there's so many people that you just get introduced to. And there's a great resource called the Center on Halsted that's in Chicago that I had a friend that worked there, and there's so many volunteering opportunities. And it's like Pride, and there's so many other times during the year too, but there's just so much that you can do to get involved and do something that's of service to other people, and not just like go and watch a parade, and not just go and see people like partaking in the festivities of it. Like there's actual drives and events and things like that that happen in fundraising. And I think that it's so fun to get involved and not be just circling around about all of the festival that it is, you know? I mean, you hear some of this stuff and you think that it's just a party, and there's so much more that goes into it about that.
I think it was Saturday Night Live that just had a hilarious skit about Pride Week and how it was like the opportunity for everybody to throw their, you know, for a party. It's about so much more than that. And by the way, Janet, you're still my favorite person for not believing I have a 26-year-old. Thank you. But yeah, I mean, Pride is about, you have to learn the history of Pride. And I did post something on LinkedIn earlier this week with a bunch of links around the history of Pride, around the Stonewall riots. Pride Month is really in June because of the Stonewall riots. It is because of all of the, you know, volunteers and the people who have done work to go out into the community and educate the community and fight for the rights of people, you know, to marry, you know, and it's organizations like HRC and various different volunteer run organizations that have done a huge amount of work to just get the legislation, you know, allowing people to not be fired just because they were gay, to not be fired, you know, and lose their job. Thank you, Elena. Right? I will be anybody's aggressive cousin. But
yeah, that happened in 1969, and it's currently 2021.
I mean, you know, just my parents' generation, and so huge strides have been made in the last 20 years because of people going out there in the streets, fighting for equality, fighting for diversity, fighting for equal laws and equal treatment.
I love this conversation. We've got a few minutes left until we're hopping into a top 5 times 3. Okay, we're gonna do 3. 15. Oh yeah, we're crazy today. We're getting wild. But yeah, so I just want to give you that so you know where we're at from a time standpoint. Jackie Rowan says, I find it so hard to understand how anyone can turn their back on their kids. Their sexuality is an integral part of them as a person. Word up, Jackie.
I mean, sexuality and gender are just it's a part of you. It's not all of you. You know, like my geeky tendencies, my costume craziness. It's just a part of me. It's not it's a facet of my personality. And hello, Brittany. You know, the whole, there's so many different parts of each of us as individuals. It's really hard to kind of look at someone and say, I don't like you because, you know, I don't like you because of your sexuality, because I can't figure out what gender you are, or because I don't, you know, understand because of the color of your skin. It's like, I'm sorry, I don't care what someone's gender is. If you cut them, they will bleed, and it will be the same color as yours.
You know what? This is a great segue into your top 5, Jodi.
Cool.
Matt, permission to resume host duties?
You got it. Jodi, I feel like you hosted that.
Yeah.
I was the guy.
Jodi interviews herself, okay? All right, so top 5. Jodi's top 5. What is Jodi's top 5 say?
Top 5 tips for parents of anybody in the community, LGBT. So, but, you know, in particular, parents of children who have fluid sexuality or gender. All
right, let's see what it is. What is number 5?
Number 5, again, find your own support as a parent. Parenting is, there's so many sayings about parenting as a community. Parenting is not something you can do by yourself. If you don't have a partner in particular, you need your own resources. You need to take care of your own mental health as well. But it's really a struggle, like, because we want the best for our children, to find people to talk to. So find your own support as a parent. The GLAD group, the PFLAG are great resources for helping you understand, you know, your child without going to them directly and asking questions that maybe they don't even know the answer to. So
awesome. That's wonderful. We put some resources in the comments as well, so poke around there too. Number 4.
Yeah, I made this mistake. You know, I admit, like I said, I'm constantly learning, and I've not been immune to making mistakes of my own. I did say to my son, I kind of always knew, but at the same time, it was more along the lines of, I always knew that he was different, that he had his own, you know, idea of who he was as a person, that he had his own, you know, I felt like his sexuality would probably be a little fluid. But I didn't know for a fact he would be gay. But again, you know, the labels at the time, you were either lesbian or gay. Even bisexual wasn't really a thing, you know, in the early 2000s. So the labels have expanded, just like the LG, it used to be LG, and now it's BT. And QIA and plus, and we continue to add acronyms because we expand our understanding. So you don't know as a parent. You might, you know, have a picture of your son in his underwear and your go-go boots and kind of have an idea. I have this. I'll never post it. I promised him.
How did you get that?
Oh my God. 6 years old. He's walking around in tighty whities and my dancing go-go boots at the time. Because again, I was in the early 20s having fun.
We got a question. We got a question about the not about the go-go boots, but instead, what should we be saying instead of "I always knew"? Is there something else we should say?
In the sense of, instead of saying "I always knew," saying "Okay, I accept you as you are. I have always loved you no matter what.
I always loved you."
Yeah. Instead of that, don't add a but. Just say I've always loved you no matter what.
Awesome. Number 3.
Yeah, this was again another lesson learned from my own experience. Talk to your kids if they come out to you. Ask them what they're comfortable with sharing, what they're comfortable with communicating. They may wish to come out to you as a parent first. They may have already come out to their friends. You may be the last one that they're coming out to. It really depends on your relationship. It depends on their comfort level. Talk to them and take the lead from them when it comes to communicating with a larger audience, if you will, a larger group of people, whether it's the extended family, whether it's your friends, whether it's being public about them as your child, let them lead. And that's something that I had to learn. And, because I was like, hey, you're my son. My son is gay, and just kind of all over the place. And he was like, Mom, really? You don't have to tell everybody.
Well, that's what moms do, right? They put everything on Facebook, like, oh, my son's doing this. It's like, boom. It's like, whoa.
God, Facebook had only existed when he was young, there would be so much more of his life
got
out
off
there.
Easy then, for sure.
He's so happy it didn't.
Number 2.
Yeah, discuss safe sex. And here's the thing. You may not understand what that means for someone in the community. So learn about it first, but make sure you continue to discuss safe sex with your kids. Make sure that they can come to you with questions about sex, that you're open and honest about it. When it comes to sexuality, sex is a part of sexuality. And even when it comes to people, there's a new definition of asexual, people who are not, sexually motivated. And understanding and learning about that status and learning about that and discussing that with your kids, just be open and honest with them.
I had a joke. Asexual is also called married. Discuss safe. Okay, number 1.
Yeah. Oh, tell them you love them. Don't say I love you, but just tell them you love them. Be open and honest with them. Always, I am also I can't understand why anyone would not love their kids, no matter what, no matter the situation. I love my boys.
Hey,
my son Vincent. Yeah.
We got a cameo.
Yay.
Love it. Hey.
So,
hey, how's it going?
Hi, baby. This is yeah. Tell them you love them, right?
Yeah.
I always love you.
I thought that was like a universal thing, but apparently I've got the weird parent who just loves me regardless of what I do.
Yeah.
Typical son answer, like, yeah, Mom, what? Like, yeah, I know, you love me. How many times?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm the one who always initiates the hugs.
Yes, well.
She's not a natural hugger.
Not a natural hugger, yeah.
She's not a natural hugger, but she is a good hugger.
Oh, that's awesome. This is great. Okay, awesome. This is a fantastic top 5. We got another one. The hits keep coming.
Let's do it.
Matt's got one here. Let's oh, here we go.
You guys, it's Friday. We had to do it. Okay.
Yes!
Let's go.
The top 5 favorite RuPaul Drag Race queens.
Explain to the people who don't know
I'll explain why it's relevant in mobility, because right now RuPaul's Drag Race Spain is on. There was the 2 seasons of UK. It's going worldwide, people. And there was already like 15 seasons in the US. So it's all encompassing. It's worldly. Number 5.
Number 5.
Rosé. She was in the most recent season. She's great. She's a New York queen. We love her. Number 4.
He's so on right now.
Simone, winner of last season. Very young, very talented. She's top notch. We're obsessed with her. Number 3. Jujubee. She's been on 3 seasons. Season 2, All-Star Season 1, and All-Star Season 5. She's been a runner-up in 2 of them. She's great. YouTube her. You'll love her. Number 2. Ben de la Creme, the only queen in All-Stars to self-eliminate because she was doing so well. She said, I got to get out of here. I'm this talented. She's phenomenal. It's a moment. Like, if you need a Drag Race moment, look up Ben de la Creme self-elimination.
Oh, I'm loving this right now. I wish you were going so fast.
Number 1. Alyssa Edwards. She's the dancing queen. She's the most memeable, the most just phenomenal all-around drag queen from all of the franchises. I mean, anything she says is hilarious. And if you just need like an actual pick-me-up in the middle of your workday, Google it, watch her, you'll die. It's immediate. Just like whatever the chemical is, dopamine, serotonin, whatever picks you up, you get it from her.
This is a top five for me right now. Matt, you crush this right now. True or false? We're going to do another segment called True or False. If we do a party at ERC, we have got to have at least one drag queen. True or false?
True. Absolutely true.
Mm-hmm.
Put in the comments. I want to know true or false. If we do a party at ERC, we need to have at least one drag queen. True or false in the comments. This is great. People, there's some umbrage. There's some umbrage afoot in the comments.
Oh.
UB is number 3.
It was so hard. Like, honestly, obsessed with her. She loves her cats. Like, she's an all-around goodness. And she's also a sober drag queen, which I have mad respect for. She's amazing. And she shares her story and tells it the way that it is.
This is great. People are loving this. Best top 10, best top 5. This is great. Jen Breen in the house. True.
True.
True. Elizabeth Martin. True. But we know that. All right. Okay. There you go. Best top 5 ever. Jana says fantastic. But guess what? We're not done. Top 5 number 2.
All right. Here we go. I was at the Marvel Field Museum exhibit, or no, Museum of Science and Industry. Sorry. Yesterday, and top 5 queer superheroes. I'm sorry, I'm like a Marvel buff. I like DC, but Marvel's like my jam. So they're all Marvel. But I love the inclusion of like the queer culture in all of the superhero
They've gotten better
genres
about
too.
this. They were very Marvel has gotten much better. Just comic books and popular media has gotten much better about including, LGBTQ people in lead roles and in pop culture and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm loving this top 5. So tell me your top.
All right, number 5. Psylocke. She's from X-Men and X-Force. She is bisexual. She's an Asian assassin. I mean, she's telepathic and telekinetic. She's amazing. Google her if you need to know more. Number 4. Hercules from the Avengers. I mean, he's a Greek god, but also bisexual, and he's a member of the Avengers, West Coast, if you're really interested in what Avengers team he's on. He's kind of been scattered throughout different rosters of them, but
have I seen him in any of the movies?
No, but currently there are rumors that Henry Cavill might play him in newer Avengers stuff. So that's the rumor mill. Don't hold me to it. If it doesn't happen, don't let it ruin your day.
I mean, Henry Cavill can do just about anything right now because of a blonde Witcher wig and still looking shiny. Anyway.
I knew that you would be so into this top 5.
I love it.
That's like why my heart is just warmed right now. Number 3, North Star. He's from the X-Men, but also a member of Alpha Flight, which Alpha Flight is like the Canadian superhero team that's regulated by the government, the Canadian government. He moves over to the X-Men. He is one of their educators and also a gay male, and he is just pretty phenomenal. He has super speed if you're really interested in his power set. And he has a crazy twin sister named Aurora.
Also celestial.
Who has the number 2. Wiccan and Hulkling from the Young Avengers. If you watched WandaVision, one of Wanda's sons is Wiccan, Billy Kaplan. He's amazing. He's a sorcerer / has chaos magic like Wanda does. And Hulkling is part of the Kree race. They call him Hulkling though because he looks like young Hulk, but he's more of like a shapeshifter with super strength. But Young Avengers, we love it. We'll probably see it in the Marvel Cinematic Universe pretty soon. Yeah, great stuff.
Kree were in Captain Marvel, right?
Yes, they were, and he is currently the leader of the Kree throne in the most recent comic series. But we're skipping way ahead.
It's all coming together. Number 1.
Number 1, Iceman from the X-Men. It was like a storyline that built up years over years. And then a time-displaced younger Iceman was outed by Jean Grey, who then the current Iceman was like, oh my God, is that really what's going on? And it was a great storyline for anybody to just relate to that had all of those feelings. And I mean, reading it, there's a Sign of Grace, like 3-part series that he did that it's great stuff. It is like LGBTQ comic gold. If you haven't read it and are interested, hit me up. I basically have like a comic library and we're good. That's my top 5. A lot of them are
digital too. A lot of them are digital. So you can get them and read them online.
Matt Tobel, everybody, just brought the smoke today on Love and Relo. I mean, you know what? We're getting a lot of people here, a lot of fans that are just they're standing right now. We need a do-over for Matt. Janet Turner's already like too much Ben. We need more Matt. This is great. This is fantastic. I love this Marvel Comic Universe top 5. Elena's saying. Elena's trying to push me into being in drag.
Yes.
You know, maybe if there was a charity angle involved, I don't know.
But what would be your
here
drag
in
name?
the end, I love any man that can dress in drag simply because, I mean, first of all, they're more feminine than I am. They wear makeup more than I do. You know, they probably pull off outfits and they definitely have better fashion sense. So I had heard somebody, you know, earlier saying that their kids were being jealous about their kids being better dressed. Yeah, I know they're better dressed than I am and my children because we have no fashion sense in this house at all.
This is wonderful. This is fantastic.
Great.
So funny.
I'm going to ignore Matt's question about what would my drag name be, but if you want to put it in the comments, go for it. Have some fun with it.
That should be like a Love and Relo contest. Is like, what would your drag name be?
I mean,
I think Lomo would be a great drag
name. You know, you can have a lot of fun with my name. But Ben de la Creme, I never heard that before, but it's gold. I mean, yeah.
I mean,
anyway.
if you want some like lighthearted, Google Ben de la Creme, Julie Andrews. He does the best Julie Andrews in a musical production from the show. It's absolutely insane. And if you don't like it, I'm sorry. It's Friday. You have a whole weekend to get over it.
This is awesome. Y'all both did a wonderful job. Everybody that showed up in the comments, that was awesome. The comments were great. Questions were great. Let me ask you real quick. I want to give you both an opportunity to close this out with a final thought. Jodi and then my co-host Matt today. Jodi, would you like to give us a final thought?
My final thought is just continue to remember that love is love. It does not matter who you love, what you love, you know, just be yourself, be your authentic self and surround yourself with people who get that and appreciate it. And you will
love you for who you are.
Thank you. Who love you for who you are.
Love it. Mine, I have a quote from Glennon Doyle Melton, and I really felt this when I read it. If our goal is to be tolerant of people who are different than we are, then we're aiming quite low. Traffic jams are to be tolerated. People are to be celebrated. And I love that for Pride Week. It just encompasses everything that I felt.
Yep.
That's beautiful. Matt, Jodi, I had a tremendously wonderful time today. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your stories. Thank you for having fun. I love you both.
Thank you
both are
for
amazing.
inviting me.
Thank you so much.
Matt. Appreciate it. It's so good to see you.
Love you.
Take care. Love y'all. Have a great weekend.